Hi, welcome to live stream yoga with Louise. Tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's practice is all about mastering movement, moving with control. As always, play when you're comfortable, modify when you need to, rest when you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to begin today's practice coming into a 4-point kneeling frame, facing the top end of the mat. Start by just relaxing the weight of your body between the two shoulders. Then begin to find form and control by pressing away from the mat, lengthening through the arms, opening up the space between the two shoulder blades, looking for a long back and neckline, and pulling your belly button firmly into center. Keep that long line through the trunk as you begin to extend the right leg behind you. Float it up to table so you're at hip height. That is your control line. Never working through it, you're going to drop your right leg halfway to the mat and back to your control line. You're going to end back at your control line and you're going to hold firm. Now we'll make the right leg our grounding leg. So you're going to drop it to the mat, tucking your toes under. You're going to extend the left leg and float that one now at hip height. Drop halfway to the mat and back, playing this time from a full plank line. End back at your control line, hold. Now find your way into a side plank, flipping to the right, stacking your legs one on top of the other, or you could stack one leg in front, or you could bend the bottom leg and extend the top. Find the side plank variant that works for you and try to hold for 30 seconds. Hips nice and high, belly button pulled in strong through that bottom arm. Then with as much control as you can, find your way onto the side of the body. We're going to assume a low to the mat position, but we're going to give ourselves a slight banana-like curve. So the bottom arm is in front of the shoulder line and your toes are in front of the hip line. You're going to rest your top hand to the top of your thigh and take a lie down on your bottom arm. We're going to come into a small modified side chest lift. So you're going to peel your head off your bottom arm and you're going to slide along the top leg and then come back down 5 times. Then maybe start to play with that top arm. As you lift and slide, reach the arm off your leg as if you were trying to touch your toes. We're going to end in the lift, we're going to hold it, and we're going to play with the legs. We're going to lift both legs off the mat and back down, keeping them clipped together as one unit. End in the lift, hold it. Then float back down to the mat and give yourself 3 recovery breaths. We're going to combine chest and leg lift together, peeling up, peeling down. We're going to end in the lift and we're going to start to play with the legs. Scissor walking them. Don't make your scissor too big and keep those legs as long and reaching as you can. Stay here or start to look for bend in the knees and begin to walk. Then take a lie down on the mat, bend your knees, stack your legs. We're preparing for some clam work. Try to line up your heels on the same axis as your spine. We're going to open and close the top leg for 10, keeping the feet together. We're going to end in the open position. We're going to press with the top hand and we're going to resist for 10. We're going to repeat 4 more times. So open and close for 10. Open and resist. Open and close. Open and resist. Open and close. Open and resist. Let's do one more set. Open and resist. Remember which leg you have on top. That's going to be your main working leg when you're doing single-sided work. When you're ready, release, roll over onto your back and realign yourself in the middle of the mat. We're coming into a bridge-like setup. Knees are bent, soles of the feet connected, arms relaxed, palm down alongside the body. You're beginning in neutral, and when you're tilting and imprinting into the mat today, don't so much focus on smooshing your back into the mat. Today, I want you to focus on drawing the 2 hip bones together towards one another, pulling the belly button down towards the spine, and contracting the abs. So every time we imprint, that's the visual imagery I want you to have. When you're ready, tilt and imprint. Draw your legs one at a time into a table and then march them back down. You're going to lead 5 times with the same leg. And then 5 times lead with the second leg. We're going to end in the tabletop position. Our main working leg, the leg that is looking up to the sky, is going to start to play. We're going to do 1 toe tap, either halfway or all the way to the mat, and then 1 heel tap. And we're going to keep playing on the same side. 1 toe, 1 heel. Then relax your feet softly back down to the mat. Tuck both hands behind your head, elbows nice and wide. We're going to begin in neutral pelvis, neutral spine. As you tilt, think of those ribs falling in, your belly button becoming heavy, your abs contracting to bleed up into the chest, so that shoulders and arms hovering just off the mat. Then find your way back down. 10 times you're going to bleed up and bleed down. Thinking of those hip bones drawing in, think of the navel drawing down, think of the abs contracting. We're going to end in the lift, hold it. Now dip your right elbow, tap it to the mat, and think of slightly rotating and coming back to your hovering position. So you're dipping and tapping on one side. Last one. Bleed back down to the mat and give yourself at least 3 full recovery breaths. We're going to add a reach through to that movement pattern. Tilt and imprint, lead up, dip and tap, reach through, and then bleed your way all the way back down and shoot for 10 repeats. Hold your last reach through, elbow dipped and tapped, other shoulder off the mat. Bleed back down to the mat. Relax the arms alongside the body and extend the legs in a long parallel line. Same working leg is going to play. We're going to bend the knee, drag the big toe. We're going to kick up to the sky. We're going to drop with a flex into the foot, and then we're going to soften to drag and repeat the cycle. We're going to end with a bent knee. We're going to scoop to peel up and hold onto the back of it. We're going to lift the other leg up and we're going to drop it just shy of the floor 10 times, keeping that nice high scoop. So you've got your shoulders off the mat and maybe a little portion of your mid-back. Hip bones pulling in, belly button pulling down, abs engaged. We're going to end in a lift and then we're going to transition to a single leg stretch, hugging one leg in with both hands and reaching and extending through the other leg. Keep your high scoop. Hip bones pulling in, navel drawing down, abs contracted. Last one, we're going to transition into a rocker. So we're going to be hollowing out our belly, rounding out our back, and rocking up and down. Shoot for roughly 10 rolls. Last one. Find your way from here to a tall staff seat. We are bringing it into a roll down pattern. So if you know you've got a sensitive spine or pronounced curvature of the lower back, or maybe your mat is just a little bit on the thin side, give yourself a little bit of padding on the mat. Find a nice tall seat with your legs just inside of hip width distance apart. Control the form, so no slouching, nice tall seat. Arms floating and reaching out in front. Big breath in. As you exhale, the two ribs draw towards one another. The belly button draws down, the abs contract, and you bleed down with control, ending with your fingertips looking up towards the sky. Inhale to prep, rib bones and hip bones draw together, navel draws down, abs contract, bleed back up. Try to give me some slow and controlled roll downs. Close your eyes, think of those hip bones pulling towards each other. Think of your ribs dropping down. Think of your belly button becoming heavy towards your spine. Think of those abs contracting. Slow the movement down, load it, control, control, control. You are the master today. Last one. We're going to end in a seated frame. We're going to swivel to face the one side of the mat, and we're going to set up a mermaid frame. One leg bent, knee and ankle in a straightish line. You could tuck in closer to the perineum and the back knee tucking into the instep of the front leg. Wiggle around and check that both of your bum bones are firmly on the mat and that you're not rolling your weight to one side. We're going to begin in a nice tall seat, and the trunk remains tall the whole time, so don't collapse the frame of your body in towards your pelvis. We're going to have the arms wider than our hips, palms slightly rotated as if they were peeking up to the sky. We're going to play with one arm. We're going to start looking over the shoulder for that palm. We're going to float the arm up, we're going to arc, and then we're going to end looking over the opposite shoulder. So the arm is lifting to arc and reach, and the head is moving left to right, right to left, parallel to the floor. One more, we'll hold the last one. Reaching that top arm as long as we can, growing the line. Then back down to repeat on the second side. You begin looking over one shoulder and you end looking over the opposite shoulder while you play with one arm. We're going to end holding the last one. Then bring your floating arm down and look down towards the frame of your legs. We're going to take the back leg and we're going to extend it, aiming for the corner of the mat, and then we're going to clip the sole of our bent leg into the inseam of our extended leg and take a nice tall gate-like seat on the mat, keeping both of our bum bones on, so watch that you're not rolling your weight to one side. You're going to bend your elbows, you're going to hug them in towards your ribs, you're going to rotate your forearms, palms up. You're going to keep the foot of your extended leg actively braced. We're going to dig in the dirt and come back. We're going to end digging in the dirt. You're going to stay here, fingertips looking down towards the floor. Or you're going to take the outside hand, slide it over, reaching for your calf or your thigh or your ankle or your foot. And then you're going to try to cross over with the other arm. So reaching for the outside of your thigh, your calf, your ankle or your foot. If you've managed to bind, maybe starting to float the elbows wide and trying to draw your nose closer towards your leg line. Hold the stretch, pulling your belly button softly into center. Then inhale to sit up nice and tall, swivel the legs around and come to a 4-point kneeling frame, looking towards the back end of your mat. Collapse your frame and then start to look for control and form. Press away from the mat, lengthen your arms, open up the space between the two shoulders, lengthen neck and back, pull your navel in, engage your core. Keep stable through the trunk, take the left leg, slide it back. Float it up to hip height, that's your control line. Don't work past your control, you're going to drop halfway to the mat and back to control. Keep your weight equal on your 3 points of contact on the mat. End in the lift, hold it. Now let's change legs. Drop and anchor left. Extend the right leg, float it up to hip height and begin to find your halfway drop pattern. End in the lift, hold it. Then flip over to find the side plank of your choice and try to hold firmly for 30 seconds. Elegantly, softly, with control, bring it back down to the mat and set up that soft banana-like frame on the mat. When you're ready, you're going to find your side chest lift, sliding on the top leg. Then add a slide and a lift on the top arm. And in the lift, lock it in and start to play with the legs, lifting both legs and dropping them 10 times. Bring everything back down to the mat and give yourself 3 full recovery breaths. Then let's execute chest and leg lift together, bleeding up and bleeding down. And in the lift, lock it in and start to find that long scissoring-like pattern through the legs, keeping your pattern small. Now start to look for a walking pattern through the legs, bending your knees. Last one, we're going to set up a working clam line from here. Bend and stack your legs, and when you're ready, start to find your opening and closing pattern through the top leg. Keep belly to spine throughout. We're going to end in the open frame. We're going to press and resist with the top arm. And we're going to try to do 5 controlled sets. Open and resist. Then back to an open and close pattern. And in the open pattern, hold it, resist, resist, resist. Open and closing again. Open and resist. Last set. Open and resist. When you're ready, find your way onto the mat, taking a moment just to realign yourself in the middle of the mat. And remember, when we're tilting and imprinting today, think of the 2 hip bones drawing in towards one another. Think of the ribs falling in. Think of your navel falling down. Think of the abs contracting. Close your eyes and see that scene every time. All right, we're going to begin with that alternating march, leading for 5 with one leg. Then switching it up and leading for 5 with the second leg. Last one, remember which was your top leg, the leg you were clamming on. You're going to give me 1 toe tap, 1 heel tap. Your drop zone is either halfway or all the way to the mat. Then re-ground both feet. Tuck both hands behind your head. Remember to run through that visual cue. Hips, ribs, belly button, abs. You're going to tilt and imprint. You're going to bleed up into the chest lift, hovering your shoulders and arms, and then back down 10 times. Hold your last lift. Start to dip on one elbow and rotate towards it. You're holding the hovering line, so once you've lifted the first time, you don't reconnect head and shoulders to mat. Dipping and tapping on one side and rotating softly, without force, with control, towards your dipping side. Last one. Find your way back down and give yourself at least 3 full recovery breaths. We're going to do chest, dip and tap, and a reach through. When you're ready, begin to play. Remember to look, every time you think of imprinting into the mat, you think of what's happening with the 2 hip bones, what's happening with your ribs, what's happening with the belly button, what's happening with your abs. You're going to end in a reach through pattern and hold. Lead back down. Relax the arms alongside the body, palm down, and extend the legs. Same working leg. We're going to find a toe drag to kick up. We're going to drop with a brace into the foot, then toe out just before we arrive on the mat to repeat the pattern. We're going to end in a knee bend. We're going to do a nice big scoop. So imprint, hold onto the back of your thigh, and then start to lift and lower the other leg, not quite allowing it to ground once you've made your first lift. End in the lift and begin to transition into a hugging single leg stretch. Then start to find your rocker pattern, holding softly onto the back of your thighs. You could ground your feet every time you rock up, or you could keep them hovering and shoot for between 10 to 5 reps. We'll end in a seated frame, and you're going to take it into that roll down pattern. Working with control, remember you are the master. So you're going to roll down and up. Maybe doing so today with your eyes closed and thinking of really finding that engagement in the core. So 2 hip bones drawing in, ribs falling down, navel drawing down, abs contracting. So close your eyes and visualize that pattern as you're rolling down, and more importantly, as you're rolling up. Make this your last one. We're going to end in that seated frame. And we're going to rotate to set up our mermaid line. Just taking a moment to check your legs, check your bum bones, check that your trunk is nice and tall and that you're not collapsing into the pelvic floor. You're going to have arms open alongside the body, and we're going to arc and frame on one side, and we're moving our head parallel to the floor. We begin looking over one shoulder, and we end looking over the opposite. Hold the last one. Reaching through that top arm, reaching through the line of your trunk. And then let's change sides. More or less 4 more to go. We're going to hold the last one. Then bring that floating arm down, look down towards the frame of your leg, take the back leg extended, aiming for the corner of your mat, and then find your little clip-in position. Taking a moment to just make sure that you're connected to the mat with both of your bum bones. Bend your elbows, rotate your forearms, palms up. We're going to dig in the dirt and come back 10 times. We're going to end in the dig, staying here, or reaching over, opposite hand to leg. You could reach for your thigh, your calf, your ankle, or the arch of your foot, and then try to replicate and cross over with the other arm, and then hold. Maybe you're allowing your elbows to draw wide, and you're holding the stretch for a few soft breaths, keeping that belly button drawn in. From here, we're going to open up into a straddle line, opening up as wide as you're comfortable with, looking for more of a gentle 6 o'clock tilt through the pelvis, so your bum is almost looking towards the back wall and you've got more of an arch in the spine. Your legs are long and actively braced. We're going to sit up tall. We're going to interlace the fingers and invert them. You're going to begin keeping your legs and your trunk still and just circling through the arms, stirring the pot clockwise. Then start to bring your trunk into play, making your circle a little bit bigger. Starting to make that circular trace even bigger and trying to stir over the line of your legs. We're going to end right, reaching past your toes, dropping to frame your head, or maybe you can drop and frame your legs as well. Lead back up, find your seat. We're going to work anti-clockwise. At first, just the arms moving. Start to bring your trunk into play. Make your circle bigger. Start to become aware of your toes, your feet. Start to stir even wider. We're going to try to hook and reach left. Find your frame, whether it's just your ears you're framing or your leg. Then bleed your way from here into a tall seat. Bending your knees, grounding your feet. Feet are just inside of hip width distance apart, and those knees are active. So pretend you've got a soccer ball that you're squeezing into with the knees. So knees and inner thighs are switched on. You're going to brace your shins, take a tall stretch through the spine. On an exhale, think ribs falling in, hips drawing together, navel dropping, abs contracting, round out into a cat-like frame, and then undo to sit up tall. You're going to repeat that pattern 5 times, thinking of those hip bones pulling in, ribs dropping, navel dropping, abs contracting. Close your eyes, visualize. We're going to end seated up nice and tall, nodding chin to chest to end off today's practice. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. Till next time, keep it light.